Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Dave, Season 2, Episode 6, Somebody Date Me, is the episode of Dave that I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be spoiling because I will talk about every last little detail of this episode. So let's get it started, shall we? Starting off, we are with our new cameo, I guess, guest appearance from Doja Cat. She is having lunch. Her schedule is overloaded. We're seeing, a lot of this episode, we're seeing her phone notifications on screen. And a lot of this episode is showing us the difference between what real busy looks like versus what fake busy looks like, which Dave is on the fake busy side of the equation. Doja Cat being which is similar to the very first episode of the show when Dave was in Korea doing that music video, working with that pop star. The differences between being really busy and being fake busy. And we're getting another example of that. But we're with Doja Cat. Her schedule's on overload. She's trying to get more time for her lunch. And while on a dating app, she matches with Dave. And, the song Who Let the Dogs Out plays, which is very sweet. Even in Dave's profile, he's standing around holding small animals, small dogs. Cut to, we've got Dave in the studio with Els in their mansion that they're working in, provided by the label. And Dave working on a song, Els talking shit about Dave, like asking him when he quit rapping. But Dave is distracted. Dave's distracted, which he is throughout this entire episode, but he's distracted swiping on this dating app. He matches with this one girl named Sadie, showing it off to Els and showing, just how easy it is to match up with people. He invites Gata to join the dating app because it's an exclusive dating app. And then Dave talking back to Els for his dating, as far as his dating experiences. Apparently, Els was on a date, and on their first date decided to watch an R. Kelly doc with their date, and how that proved to be the worst choice ever. Gata, as always, boosting Dave's ego, giving him that hype, telling him that women should be thankful to be with somebody as famous and as talented as Dave is. Meanwhile, Gata doesn't need to be on that dating app because he's on his own. He's on J-Date looking for his match. Dave did match with somebody, while in addition to matching with Sadie, he matched with somebody quite famous, and taking the opportunity to rub that in the face of Els shows him that he matched with Doja Cat, who Gata didn't even know. I didn't know who Doja Cat is. To this day, have not heard of any of her music. She is definitely a gorgeous woman, and, I'm sure very talented. And Dave very stoked to have matched with her. Els gets a call from one of his rapper buddies. They need somebody weird. They need somebody different for this music video, and Dave is all about it. So Els hooks Dave up with this opportunity to be in this music video. Gata is so amped that Dave is like matched with Doja Cat. He's doing push-ups, doing a little workout. And you get a little bit of texting back and forth through the app. Dave and Doja Cat are texting back and forth. And, of course, Dave, being funny in his texting, talking about baby names, what they should call their babies, which I appreciate. As far as somebody I kind of come and go on the dating app thing over time. I kind of use dating apps, or I have used dating apps over the past decade as more of a way to socialize, and using humor in the dating app in conversations through text or chat rooms is definitely my go-to type of, even in real life, even in the real world version of meeting somebody new and trying to talk to them, like flirting with them or whatever. I use humor as it's kind of my Swiss Army knife tool, whether it's defending myself or trying to I'm constantly trying to endear myself using comedy. It's just for what purpose I'm trying to do that. So I appreciate the fact that Dave has a very similar style to myself. Meanwhile, back at Doja Cat's place, she's doing her makeup. She's getting flooded with notifications, scheduling changes, updates on different things. All these just like constantly flooded with information anytime she picks up her phone. And every time she picks up her phone, it's to text back with Dave. And she is participating in the baby naming process, throwing out the potential little cat or Lil Cat instead of, mashing up Lil Dicky and Doja Cat, which, I appreciate that as well. Cut to Dave is kind of getting ready for this rap video that he's going to participate in. He's getting some food delivered, and despite the fact that this is a show that was produced and came out during a pandemic, a time when the contactless delivery style became popularized, Dave is doing the contactless delivery as a method to avoid regular people. Basically, it's Dave acting as if he's ultra famous and not wanting to deal with potential fans of his that might be delivering the food, which is so much of what this season of Dave is from episode 1 till now, is Dave really struggling with his overinflated ego and narcissism, which kind of came to a head in last season, but it's definitely been plaguing him in this entire season. But he's getting the food delivered. Then he's over trimming his beard, getting things, all the while texting back and forth with Doja Cat. And she's even being funny back, which I appreciate. I mean, not only being funny as a way to, like, using humor as a way to just break the ice, kind of loosen things up when you're talking to somebody new, but to have that reciprocated is always a bonus. So she's being funny back. Now Dave his parents are visiting. So kind of, I mean, not that Dave doesn't have a busy day. I mean, he was working, quote unquote, working on some music with Els. Then he's got this music video later. Then maybe he's going on a date and his parents are in town. So it's like he does have things going on in the day. Like, I would consider myself to be busy if I had that type of a schedule that Dave has. But then to see the exponentially more compact schedule in comparison to Dave with Doja Cat and what she gets flooded with, like, that kind of reality of being, like, famous and being that kind of popular and having that kind of workload is stressful just to contemplate in general. Like, I can't imagine living a life where you have to fit in 100 things every single day and it's all pre-planned. Like, you have very little to no self-control over your life. And we're seeing the lack of that kind of freedom in what Doja Cat, or at least just what workload that she has to deal with. But Dave is going out to lunch, hanging out with his parents, despite the fact that he's extremely distracted. I mean, he's in the back seat on his phone. And that's, like, I know, like, as far as for me, that level of distraction, head in the clouds, reality passing you by while you're just focused on this connection that you just made, I have had those moments many times in my life. And those moments, in a lot of ways, will grow into, like, if I'm spending time with somebody, I will have those. That will be a distraction from my life as well. Like, not only just the text version of that, but if, like, relationships. That's why I've avoided being in relationships. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I've avoided being in relationships, because I know myself and I know how I allow myself to be so distracted. And it has nothing to do with the other person. It is me. It is my inability to put something to, like, regulate my time spent doing a thing. If there's something that I'm interested in, I can't help but, like, just go all in on it. And that could be from, like, a relationship to, like, just a project I want to do. So Dave's distracted in the back of the seat while his parents are kind of chatting back and forth, which I love Dave's parents. Their kind of nonsensical back and forth chitter-chatter is always entertaining. And during their chat, during Dave's chat back and forth with Doja Cat, she brings it to sexy time. She brings it to sexy land. And which you could see Dave's, like, the look on his face of surprise and bewilderment when she does take it there. And Dave, in his true fashion, keeping it funny. That, like, he's mentioned, like, they should get married or whatever, and she's like, oh, we should have the wedding in my pussy, which she's not necessarily merging the sexy talk and the comedy very well. Like, they're very. She's reaching for those metaphors, but Dave, making sure she understands that he has a big family, a lot of cousins, but she's okay because her pussy's fat, so they should all fit, and which I appreciated that whole back and forth. And Doja Cat even gives, like, her reaction. I mean, so much of this episode is her just typing into a phone and seeing her facial reactions as she's chatting with Dave. And you want to talk about one of the most adorable smirks. I had to grab it for the background of this episode. But just, like, so adorable, this smirk that she gives when she's like, oh, your family will fit in my pussy. It's great. It's so great. And now a quick word from our sponsor. Now you can wear the many faces. Original art by Ray Taylor. Select pieces from the ongoing series of abstract ink paintings. All products made with high quality materials, made right here in the USA. Go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF merch to browse the entire collection and save yourself an extra 10% when you check out by using coupon code RTSTMF. So once again, go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF merch and save 10% when you use coupon code RTSTMF. And now back to our show. So now she is live streaming, which just for somebody, like, I produce a lot of stuff for the internet. The live streaming aspect of it is like being live and then waiting for people to come in and then having conversations with those people it's just weird. It's so weird. But anyway, she's having the live, which is super common if you have any form of popularity. It's like the best way for somebody who's famous to quote unquote, like, relate to or interact with your fans. I mean, the best way. I mean, it's amazing what technology has provided for people who are fame in the spotlight. So she's live streaming, calls out one of the guys in her live stream, calling him, like, Mr. Rogers or whatever. Cut to, like, him at work. Like this, he's like this old, like this 40-something-year-old dude, full beard, like clearly an older dude that's just being a child online, probably using a private burner account, which, as far as my experience dealing with trolls online, especially Instagram, they are 99% of those people are using private troll accounts, like burner accounts. And it's so pathetic. It's so pathetic. to see, and it's just like they have this conviction and passion to talk shit about something, but so unwilling to attach their actual identity to it. It's laughable. But she calls him out, and it's kind of a funny scene. And again, after she's done, she gets the notification flood. But in that flood of notifications that she gets, Dave asks her out. Likes where it's going. He's like, we should meet up at this place, da-da-da. If you're busy. And she's like, I got a crazy schedule, which we've seen, but she's willing to make time for Dave. And they're gonna have this date. Now Dave is at lunch with his parents, and he tells them about this girl that he's talking to, and that's why he's so distracted. And he shows, like, the picture he uses to show his parents is like still like that ego. Like, I want my parents to be taken aback by how attractive. And it's like a performance shot of Doja Cat during a concert in whatever kind of, outfit that she's in that's showing all of the things. And his mom is like, oh, she's got beautiful breasts. And dad is like trying to reach in to pinch and zoom on the picture. And Dave quickly reminds him that, he's got his wife to pinch and zoom if he wants. But they're at lunch, and Dave is talking about how Mike is going to help take them around because Dave has got this music video that he's got, and his parents are confused because it's like, well, why isn't Mike going to your video? And he's like, oh, it's not my video. It's this other rap crew that I'm going to go be in their video for. But Mike's going to come babysit for you. But yeah, so then he texts Sadie, this girl that he matched with initially at the beginning of the episode, and gives her a kind of a vague flake response of like, my schedule is busier than I anticipated, so I don't know if we'll be able to do whatever tonight. Like, kind of a vague, like, I'm busy, so I don't know if we'll be able to go out like we had planned. And then cut to Sadie, who's going to yoga with her friend, and she's super excited, and we see in her phone that she has Dave labeled as Little Dicky, so she's clearly like kind of a star fucker kind of a girl, kind of more impressed with the fact that she's impressed by Dave's facade of being a popular rap artist. But her friend gives her the advice to play it cool, don't be thirsty, which is good. I mean, it's definitely the best way to handle it. Somebody's like vague, I might not be able to make it. It's like, okay, cool. Like, if somebody's busy or potentially busy, like, the last thing you want is to be another burden to them. You don't want to try and make them feel bad for changing their schedule. So she, not trying to be thirsty, plays it cool. Now cut to Doja Cat is at rehearsal, dance rehearsal. And after dance rehearsal, she goes to her phone, and again, flood of notifications. And she texts Dave a picture of her, like just a goofy picture of her, and asks if like you prepared to wake up to this every morning. Kind of the kind of flirty, joking around. Let's pretend like we're going way too fast in this relationship. And Dave, super stoked that he got a picture of her, like takes a screenshot right away. And instead of sending that screenshot to Mike, which he had intended, he accidentally just sent that screenshot back to Doja Cat, and he is freaking out. He is freaking out. Like, he's in this Uber on the way to this music video having a heart attack because he just took a screenshot of Doja Cat, this famous musician, performer, celebrity, and sent it to his buddy Mike with the caption of "Bro, look at this," kind of a thing. And he saves it by saying, "Look at this. It's the first selfie that you ever made." I can't, imagine what our kids will say when they see this first selfie that you sent me. And she sees his response and buys his save, and throws in the bro back at him. In which case, Dave pounds his chest in victory because he was able to, like, that moment when you've accidentally texted the wrong person, especially like showing that you took a screenshot of a thing, is gotta be, I mean, especially in that situation. It's very rare that it's happened. I think the only time it's really happened to me was when the iPhone first came out. It had a thing where if you got a text message from somebody and you went into the text app, it wouldn't go directly to the person you're trying to respond to. It would just go to the last person you texted. So there were a couple times where I sent a text to the wrong person. Thankfully, it was never a situation like this. But even then, it's like, what did I do? I just totally messed this up. But he's able to save it. So now cut to Mike is with Dave's parents. And even Dave's parents are treating Mike like an employee. Like telling him to, hey, go check on Dan or whatever. Dawn, I'm sorry. Go check on Dawn. Like, and he's like, while he's babysitting Dave's parents, he's getting texts from Dave saying that, like, Dave's like, oh, we might have a very famous guest over at our house tonight, so I need to make sure you need to set up a projector. I need you to buy another Apple TV. I need you to make sure that remote for the Apple TV is charged up. Like, giving Mike all of the errands he needs to do to prepare, get some candles, make sure it's romantic, like to get everything prepared for this potential after-date rendezvous at their crib. Meanwhile, Mike is with his parents, who are also treating him like an employee. It is like sad, the state of Mike in this show at this moment. But he goes to check on Dawn, and he walks into the dressing room, and he sees Dawn a little out of it, with a little wet stain on his pants. These pants he was trying on. And it's hilarious. It is hilarious, this scene, because Mike's trying to kind of explain it away, and then Dawn asks Mike if he knows Doja Cat, and right when Dawn asks that question, Mike knows that it's not piss, that it is cum, that Dawn came in his pants because he saw the picture of Doja Cat while he was at lunch with Dave, with his son. And he looked up pictures of her online and came in his pants. But he makes sure to tell Mike just over and over again, this is not cum, this is piss. This is piss. I didn't cum in my pants. And Mike is hilarious. Mike is laughing at the situation. I mean, as far as being able to have any kind of levity to this situation where he's babysitting Dave's parents, it's hilarious that he caught his dad cumming himself in the dressing room. Cut now to Dave showing up to this rap video. Apparently he picked up Gata because Gata is there. And it's he brought Gata as, in many ways, a cultural kind of accessory. Because Dave is does not fit in the mold of what would be considered a hip-hop artist. And Gata is more related to the culture of hip-hop than Dave is. So he brought Gata as a way to be, in some ways, a buffer. Also, he's kind of like his I don't want to say translator, but he's kind of that middle ground in which Dave can like a little buffer area, bringing Gata. But so Dave brings Gata to this rap video, and it's clear that Dave doesn't fit in. These artists, I don't know who they are, but one of them's so excited he crushes this glass that he had in his hand when Dave shows up. And there's like three of them, and Dave is all taken back by him. And they have all these women they want Dave to like choose from, and Dave's super like just not comfortable choosing which women he wants to be in this video with. Feels like he's being misogynistic, but it's it is what it is. Just it's clear that Dave doesn't fit in for a lot of reasons. Dave like the stereotypical rapper is not. Dave is more comedy than he is rap, I would say. Just everything about him. He has the idea, the slant, the angle of comedy versus hip hop in all of his interactions. Back to Doja Cat is live again. While now this time she's like talking about this upcoming event or whatever. She's getting ready to do a photo shoot. And Dave is selecting. It's kind of cutting back and forth between her doing her thing and Dave doing his thing. He's asked to select these women. He's unable to, so he kind of lets the rappers do it for him. Dave just because he doesn't fit in, he's asking for Mike to come and get him. He's like kind of being impatient because he's not getting a response from Doja Cat. Like he's in the mode of being distracted from everything he has to do that day and focused primarily on this conversation that he's having with Doja Cat. But meanwhile, she actually has a very busy day and is not by her phone as much as Dave is, despite the fact that he says he's having a busy day, which he has stuff going on, but he has plenty of time to be on his phone, and you could see that he's getting impatient with it. And Gata is trying to get Dave is trying to, explain to Gata why it's like this isn't me. And Gata's like, just do your job, be a rapper. Gata knows the assignment, and Dave is like, for so many reasons, his head isn't in it. Join Inspired Disorder Plus today. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. So Doja Cat doing this photo shoot. The photographer is unprofessional. So many of the situation, he showed up late. All of the approved costumes or outfits that she was going to get photographed in, he wants to bring in and do other things. He's completely changing the plan, and her life is so packed with stuff to have that kind of flexibility where she's gonna just go and do. She's like very angry and kind of taking over this photo shoot because she doesn't have the patience for it either. It's kind of interesting that her patience and Dave's patience are running thin at the same time, except for her patience is running thin is because her time isn't being respected, and Dave is kind of feeling like his time isn't being respected, but more he's not getting the attention he wants on his phone from this person. Meanwhile, he should be trying to do his best work in this video to make these other rappers happy with his work and to do what he wants to do in his work. But yeah, she's super upset and unhappy with how unprofessional everything's going on. The other rappers at Dave's music video, they're talking about primal therapy and how that helps them, and trying to get Dave to do that in this video shoot that he's doing. Dave wants to change the video shoot to make it more comedic. He's like, why can't we add more dick jokes? Instead of having women's asses, why can't we have men's asses? And then the other rappers bring up the point of that being pretty homophobic. It's like, we are honoring these women and their bodies as works of art. We're not making a joke out of this, which, you can argue that side, both sides of that. But definitely making a joke of it, just of like a homophobic joke of like, oh, it would be funny if it were men's asses because it's funny to be gay. So it's kind of a generational difference between these younger rappers and Dave as well. But yeah, they're not appreciating Dave's feedback at all. Their assistant is kind of talking back to him. There's this big drama with these horses that haven't shown up. But this assistant is kind of talking back, and the rappers kind of go off on him, go off on everybody on the situation. Very similar to Doja Cat and how she was going off on the photographer for not being professional. Meanwhile, Mike, like Dave is trying to get a hold of Mike, telling him that, he doesn't want to be there anymore. Like, Daddy, come and get me. Mike, come and pick me up, Mike. But Mike's not paying attention to his phone because he is at a meeting with the label, the same representative we saw earlier when they had the ant problem. Mike is now having a meeting with her and trying to potentially work with them as well, which they are stoked about because they already have a rapport with Mike. They like the work that he does, and Mike is just looking for something that feels a little bit more real. Because working for Dave is like working for somebody who's playing make-believe most of the time. Like, the reality of Dave's head and his ego is not the same as the reality that everybody else is living in. And Mike is looking for something a little bit more substantial with his life and his career. Meanwhile, Dave is like texting, like he had sent Doja Cat question marks when she didn't reply. Meanwhile, she's at this photo shoot. Then he does this big hello with a bunch of O's and a bunch of little ellipses. And it's like, I see what's happening. Dave is making the bad decisions that I have made myself in my youth, in my 20s, where it's like you feel like you're being ignored and you don't have the patience, and you start to lash out on a situation that maybe you wouldn't have lashed out on if you had just, like, he's being immature. Back when I was immature, he's being that same way, and giving the kind of passive aggressive hello. Now cut to, it's later on in the evening. Doja Cat gets home. She's running through her door, clearly getting ready to change and get ready for this date that she has with Dave. Not even bothering to look at her phone, because every time she does, it's a flood of notifications. It's like she knows that at 7 she's got this date with Dave at this place, so she's just rushing to get ready so that she makes it. So as she's getting ready, or after she's getting ready, she picks up her phone and she sees paragraphs, which for me is like, no, like you see it coming. If you've ever been that immature guy that Dave is being in this episode, you see this coming because you know where it goes. You know where he's going with this. Oh, you're going to disrespect my time? How dare you be so disrespectful to me? Meanwhile, her schedule has been like 3-4 times as packed as Dave's has this day, which Dave's schedule, he's like barely in it. He's like doesn't really, like when he's making music, he's distracted. When he's with his parents, he's distracted. When he's at this music video, he's distracted. Like he is not being present in any aspect of his day. And she gets these paragraphs of how it's like, I know we just didn't know each other, but I know we're both busy, but like I don't appreciate being treated like this. You're just gonna ghost me, like all this stuff. Meanwhile, she's like ready. She's like heading out the door when she sees this, just reading paragraph after paragraph of Dave just like crying about shit. And it's like stuff that I have done myself. And it's sad. It is sad to see. Like, there's so many aspects of Dave that I relate to that, like, make me sad for myself, for how I have acted in the past. And her only reply is LOL, which for Dave is like, what the it kind of, I could see from Dave's perspective receiving the LOL response to all of that being that she was fucking with him, that it all was a big joke to her. But when you see it from her perspective, it's clear that she's like, oh, you fucked up and I don't want to have anything to do with you. You're not, like, it's not worth my time, which her time is very, very sparse, very precious to her. She changed her schedule to fit in just a moment of spending time with Dave. And Dave goes off on this like high horse about disrespect and just sends him to the LOL, which is like, yeah, it's sad. It's a bum. It was a bummer. It's a bummer watching it. I mean, it's a great episode, but it's like, to see the path that Dave goes down in this episode is such a bummer, especially because it's like, I've done that. I have been as stupid and thoughtless and disrespectful as Dave in this moment. Thankfully, I've never done it to a famous person, I guess. Not that that means anything different. You know, like the people that I thought were ignoring me were just, and that's part of my own issues, feeling like unwanted and a burden and people avoiding me. Like I have these self-esteem issues. But yeah, that situation with Dave and Doja Cat, a bummer. So Dave, who is also ready to go on this date, decides to text his backup, Sadie. And then she, as she's getting ready to go out, texts her, the guy she was about to go out with, to flake on him. And so you see that guy at the restaurant, and he's like, well, I guess I just got flaked on, so why don't you bring me some food anyway? And then you see him on the app, and the person he swipes on and matches with is Allie, which I think was a nice little touch at the end of this. Now, my only question is, I was under the impression that this app, this dating app, was only for celebrities. So why is Allie on this app for non-celebrities? How is Sadie on this app? Which I guess, you know, there is the dating app Raya, which is an invite-only app that celebrities use. So I'm assuming it's that kind of a thing, that Allie got the invite from probably Emma, who got the invite from probably Dave, I would imagine, would be the chain of events that would have had Allie on that dating app to get swiped on at all. So that's how it ends, with Allie getting matched up with this other guy. So we'll see if that guy comes back. But just kind of an episode really highlighting the differences between the fake it till you make it, I'm busy type of a guy that Dave is being, and then what the reality of fame and being busy is with Doja Cat. So I appreciated it. And as all of the, the kind of cameos, the special appearances that come on the show, I thought Doja Cat was, she was great. Great addition to the show. Basically just her by herself acting with her phone, her facial expressions while she's chatting with Dave. But yeah, a great episode for Somebody Date Me, episode 6. Next week is episode 7, season 2, episode 7, Ad Man. So we'll see what happens in that episode next week. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can